That's crazy. What was that?
Something outside your door again.
It's creaking. I should move my water. My water's downwind. Little New Year's Eve stream. Look pale. Can you see my jerseys? Yeah, you can. Nice. Need those in there. They're important. What's up, Sano?
Is it Sano or Sano? Can answer that for us, bud.
Your guess is as good as mine.
I thought it was Sano. We're going to wait for a few more people to get in here, guys, before we actually start talking DFS. As you guys can see, TJ is now in the stream, so we are happy about that.
About time.
I just want to say it's all my fault before you mention it. The audio problems, it's all my fault.
Yeah, because we were good a while ago, but ran into some technical difficulties.
Kevin Love will play Tuesday. Not that really matters.
Nah.
We're going to wait just a few more minutes, guys, and then we'll go ahead and get started.
Someone's going to have to try and keep that game close, huh?
I'm going to say Sano because I feel like that's more comfortable for me, so.
Either way is fine. I'm good with either. He's a simple man.
Yeah, very simple. Also, I won't mention what username actually got that almost takedown last night. Congratulations on the $1,500. Congrats. I'm drinking root beer, by the way, guys. If you guys were wondering, root beer,
water,
root beer, and water.
Big New Year's Eve night for
New
us.
Year's. Oh, by the way, I went to the doctor's today. I was telling TJ this. Confirmed flu. So this is another flu game for me. You gotta ride the streak now, guys. Another flu game. All right, let's go ahead and get started. We have enough people. I feel like it's not updating the actual number anyway. All right. Welcome, guys. I posted a video earlier today. I think it's pretty much the same with my advice. However, there was the late-breaking injury news that Harden was playing, and I had mentioned in the video that Harden would be a fantastic play at 10.5 just because it was a discount. As in regards to the Warriors, though, I believe that we're going to go ahead and play the chalky Warriors. I think TJ wants to go ahead and take another route and include even more Warriors. TJ, can you pull your mic away just for a second? I think it's giving a little bit feedback. I think... Yeah. There was like some feedback noise. I don't know what it was. All right. TJ, you want to go ahead and talk about the Warriors and like who we're going to play from that game?
Yeah. So when we take a look at the Warriors tonight, they have a couple key injuries, one of which being D'Angelo Russell, who is out. Kevon Looney is still out. Willie Cauley-Stein's out tonight. And then obviously Stephen Clay. So tonight's starting lineups looking like Alec Burks, Damian Lee, Glenn Robinson, Draymond, and Marquise Chris at the 5. So a ton of value coming from that Golden State team. They're definitely going to be very chalky when it comes to cash game, especially Marquise Chris. The only way I don't see Marquise Chris tonight hitting value is if he gets into some sort of foul trouble. Should see 26 to 28 minutes, only 4,100. So he would definitely be a building block in every single one of my lineups, whether you're playing GPP or you're playing cash. I honestly don't see, even if he's in foul trouble, how he doesn't hit value. So he's a pretty obvious play. Should be very, very, very high owned. And another one will be Kai Bowman coming off the bench. Looks like he is projected at 26 minutes, only $3,100. I mean, all these guys are so cheap. You can add 3, 4, 5 of them in cash. You can play 3 of, I wouldn't have 5 of them in a GPP, but 3, 4, or 5 in cash, and then you can go and spend up on specific guys, maybe in that Houston-Denver game, maybe if you want a little Toronto exposure. Maybe you're feeling froggy and you want to throw Luka in there after his dismal performance getting hurt against the Lakers. But yeah, Golden State's definitely a building block for tonight, and you're going to want a lot of exposure for them if you're playing cash games.
I don't think it's as extreme as what the Rockets were the other night because everybody was priced below 4.8, as I pointed out on stream. There's people like Draymond. I feel like it could go either way with him. I feel like it's always either way with him.
He's very up or down, and if he can hit shots with his backpack on or not, it's
Yeah, and then somebody like Damian Lee at 6.2, Green at 6.1. Are you suggesting, at least for maybe cash, that you're just going with the core, or are you suggesting that we start somebody like Draymond or maybe Robinson or Lee?
Well, I can tell you now, Marquise Chris, Kai Bowman, and Alec Burks are going to be 3 guys that are in our cash lineup, no matter what else happens injury-wise. Whether if Gary Harris is out or Millsap gets ruled out or what have you. Those 3 guys are going to be in our cash build. Draymond and Damian Lee are priced a little bit higher than those 3, obviously. I personally like Draymond more than Damian Lee. Damian Lee is 6.
I can agree.
That's a pretty good price tag for somebody that, he's been playing unbelievable, but somebody that just came up from the G League recently for Golden State after all these injuries, like, he's been balling out so far this year. And the one thing he does is he gets a ton of rebounds, and I feel like that's taken away from Draymond, his production on the boards. I think over the last 3 games, Lee's averaged like 10 rebounds or something like that. I think he had 15 one game. So he's very active on the glass. But those 3 that I had mentioned, Burks, Chris, and Bowman, are going to be in the cash lineup. And then those other 2 floaters, being Draymond and Damian Lee, whether you want 1, 2, or neither of them, I think those are solid cash plays, though.
Just want to state real quick, guys, go ahead and fire away your questions in the chat. We're both going to be monitoring them. I know TJ was monitoring them the last couple days, but we'll both be giving that a look. So fire away any cash questions, any GPP questions. You can put your full lineup in there. We will look back and we will answer any questions that you guys have, just like we did yesterday. Also, for anybody new, be sure to hit that subscribe button on our channel because we will be going live almost every single day for DFS. We want to give an edge to you guys every single day. We really appreciate the support. We got 4 or 5 more subscribers today. We want to keep that train rolling. I know we've been on a streak today, or the past week. We've been earning people some money. I know somebody had a 10K winner the last time they played our advice 2 days ago, and then somebody came close to another GPP takedown yesterday. So appreciate the support, guys. I want to extend off of that, TJ. Outside of the Warriors, I see a lot of minutes on the Warriors. Who else are you looking for outside of the Warriors for like fillers? Because I know that's going to leave you with like an awkward amount. You could go and spend up and then put mid-tier, because I think Golden State allows you to do that. What's the mold looking like for you? Because I know what it's looking like for me. I'm going to talk on that after you give your opinion.
Yeah, so right now, if I'm going to lock in those 3 Golden State Warriors, whether I have a 4th or 5th is still undecided, pending a couple more injury guys like OKC. If Schroeder and Gallinari are out, that's going to offer up a ton of value over there in OKC, whether that's Chris Paul, whether that's SGA. So that's still to be determined. But locking in Burks, Lee, and locking in Burks, Chris, and Bowman, I'm definitely going over to that Denver-Houston game. 224 over under. Looks like it should be competitive. And I'm looking right at James Harden. He's 10.5. He was 11-2 against Brooklyn and put up 77. And I understand, Westbrook didn't play. Did Westbrook play against Brooklyn, actually?
The last game, no, he didn't. Against Brooklyn. Yeah.
We stacked Harden, stacked Westbrook, but they were both out last game. Harden's coming back from his toe injury.
Yes. Toe sprain.
Capella's coming back from his heel injury. So I'm looking right at Harden. I'm looking right at Capella. Which should be a high-paced game. Denver doesn't really play too high of a pace, but they're going to be in Houston. They're going to be forced to play a little bit at a higher speed tonight. So James Harden at 10.5 makes absolutely zero sense. He'll be super chalk in cash, which he should be. because the only other real spend up tonight is Luka, and Luka's dealing with that back injury that he sustained against the Lakers. He's also got a bum ankle, so I like Juka. That's a pretty good. I like Luka as a GPP play, but not for me for cash tonight. So I'm just glued to Harden.
I can completely agree with you. James Harden, as we were looking at the fantasy points per minute the other night, it's so funny how crazy he is offensively for that team. He literally still handles everything, even with Westbrook. It's unbelievable. He averages even with Westbrook on the floor, 1.85 fantasy points per minute. That is unbelievable. I don't think there's any other player that can do that to Westbrook. I don't think there's any other player that can do that with another superstar on the team. It's not because he's good. It's just because he's a ball hog. And I totally get that. But Harden, it is still his team. It's 1.85 fantasy points per minute. He is 10.5. You cannot fade him. And I agree with you over Doncic. Doncic definitely GPP just because he'll be lower. He's going to be a great pivot. I'm going to answer some questions real quick. You're playing 3 Warriors for GPPs. Good idea, question mark. The 3 being Burks, Lee, and Chris. Yes, I completely agree with you. I think that having the core of those 3 is almost a must in cash and GPP because there's no reason that Kai Bowman shouldn't hit value. There's no reason that Alec Burks and Chris shouldn't hit. They're going to be in a tighter rotation than normal. They're going against the Spurs. The Spurs are not that good on defense. And I also want to point out, because I believe that we missed this point, that for small forwards going against San Antonio, just because DeRozan's not that good at defense, they rank literally last in the league. Last in the league against small forwards. So DeRozan does think of defense. Kawhi's not there anymore, unfortunately. So they lack defense at the small forward position. So you're asking the next question I see is Glenn Robinson. TJ, do you want to give your... Go ahead.
Yeah. Sano asked about Burks, Lee, and Chris, not Burks, Bowman, and Chris. But
oh, sorry.
Lee being that last guy for a GPP play, which he should be a good GPP play.
Yeah, I got Lee asked in the video. We were talking whether we think Green, Draymond, or Damian Lee's a better play. We're leaning towards Green just because of the rebound potential there. That's the only reason. He's a slightly higher fantasy point per minute player in general, but I think if you're going to do GPPs, Damian Lee's a great pivot just for lower ownership.
Yeah, I mean it's a toss up between the two, but like I said, Damian Lee's been playing some really good basketball for them, and he's been getting 30 plus minutes in a majority of these games, and especially with all these injuries, you can't go wrong with Damian Lee tonight. I like him. And someone's asking about Glenn Robinson. I like Glenn Robinson tonight, but out of those starting 5, I think he is my 5th option. So I would definitely project him as more of a GPP play. I don't see him coming in as much ownership as any of those other starters that Golden State has going tonight, or Kai Bowman coming off the bench. So he could definitely be a sneaky GPP play and could definitely get you some quality time.
So here's what I would do for GPPs, and this is just my 2 cents. For the Warriors exposure, I would do something similar to what I did with the Rockets the other night. I would have Chris, and I would have Burks, right? And then I'd have a little bit of exposure to different combinations of the Warriors, because you already know somebody's going to step up on the Warriors. You're not going to expect somebody like a Glenn Robinson, somebody like a Damian Lee. Have different combinations in there. Grab exposure to different combinations of those Warriors, because one of those guys will step up and have a monster night. And I obviously can't tell the future. Can't tell you which one that is, but there's going to be somebody on the Warriors that's going to step up. Glenn Robinson's production is completely driven by shots, and it's always been that way for him. I want to answer a question too. Russell Westbrook here with his fantasy point projection. My thoughts on Westbrook tonight: would have been a phenomenal play without Harden, obviously. With Harden, though, I think that 9.6 is just a little too high, especially in a pace down. I don't know if you agree with that, TJ. I think he's strictly just GPP. That might be a stretch.
I don't see him garnering too much ownership tonight. I'll tell you one thing: he's gonna check up shots. So you got that for you. He's hit at least 10 shots in his last 7 games, but I mean he's taken 25 to 30 to get there. He's just not an effective shooter. It kind of depends what else he can do to fill out the stat sheet: rebounds, assists, etc. Which obviously he's done phenomenally throughout his career. But 9.6 tonight, I think you can find better plays, especially for cash, like at 9.6 or an 8.8 Kyle Lowry, I'm taking Kyle Lowry. But as long as I can still have James Harden in that lineup too, I'm cool with that. So like I said, I don't see Russell Westbrook garnering too much ownership tonight in cash. But definitely a great GPP play because, like I said, he'll chuck up 30 shots, especially in a competitive. Him and Harden are each going to put up 30 shots.
But if you're asking who we like from Houston, it's James Harden all the way, no questions asked.
Oh, Gary Harris is out.
Yep, I was just about to touch base on that. We're gonna get to your questions in just a second, guys, but we want to address. Yeah, we wanna touch base on Denver because TJ the other night called Michael Porter. I didn't have enough exposure to him. I think the one lineup I did, I almost took down. It was like 9th place, so I wish I would have had more. But let's go ahead and look at Denver real quick, TJ.
Yeah, so it looks like Denver is starting Jamal Murray, Torrey Craig, Will Barton, Millsap, and Nikola Jokic. So Michael Porter back to the bench. Looks like Torrey Craig is getting the start.
Is he? Is that announced on Fantasy Labs?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's not even in Roto's pool. So my assumption is he's 3K. So with that being said,
that might end up being a great play.
Yeah, if he's getting 24 minutes, I mean, he's going to be in your cash build. With also, I mean, Bowman at 3.1 though. I don't necessarily think that Craig will be somebody you desperately need, but if he is 3K, he's 3,000. So, if Torrey Craig's getting 24 minutes, then you're going to want him in your cash build. So,
let's wait for those minute projections because I know for a fact that Torrey Craig's actually a great point per dollar player when he's actually playing. Yeah. So, I mean, if he is playing minutes, oh my gosh, he might have a lot of exposure in my lineups. Also, like if he is playing the builds, would we be able to get Doncic and Harden in the lineup?
Oh, he's starting. Yeah, but I don't necessarily think you
have to.
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
That game should be close, but if Gallinari and Schroeder are out, that's two huge guys for Oklahoma City that aren't in there playing for them, trying to compete with this Dallas team who's been very good so far this year, surprisingly good, and I mean obviously thanks to Luka. So I don't know how competitive that game will be if Gallinari and Schroeder are out because you're losing two of your 4 best scoring options. But we can't predict blowouts or anything like that. So I guess we'll have to wait and see what those minutes are going to look like for Torrey Craig. But I mean, you're going to definitely be able to have the salary to go up to get Luka and Harden, or get Harden and Westbrook, or Harden and Jokic, or Harden and Lowry. So having that salary relief to Bowman and now Craig, that's going to open up a lot of different avenues in cash and in GPPs.
Yeah, I agree with you. I was just looking at the Denver roster. I actually looked at the usage here with Gary Harris off the court. It's actually surprising for me. Jamal Murray gets a 5% usage. I know you hate him. I know I hate him because he's just so volatile.
Last game too.
What's that?
That's the bump that Murray gets.
Yeah,
he's like 5 to 6% usage bump with Harris off the court.
Yeah, do you like him?
I didn't take him last game. Pace up spot against Houston. Yeah, I mean, what is his price tag? He should be in the 6s, right?
6. Hold on, let me look again. 6'8".
Like, yeah,
closer to 7.
We'll have to wait and see if his projection gets bumped up. Right now, I'm seeing him 13 to 15% owned. So if he gets to the 20 to 30% exposure for cash, then he'll definitely be a consideration. But I just want to wait and see what they update for Denver's minutes for Torrey Craig.
Yeah, it looks like it's still not updating quite yet.
Yeah, they'll update in a second.
All right, so what's that?
So that's interesting.
While we're waiting, guys, I want to go back and answer the old questions here. You said Lowry for all the money. We do like Lowry because he's in a pace-up spot, but dude, man, 8.8 is just such a raise in the price tag. I still like Lowry. It's just, I don't know. The thing with Lowry is he's a very consistent player. He's great. He's very consistent on the offense without those players in the lineup. I just don't know about his ceiling, man. His ceiling, he just doesn't go off. He doesn't nail those threes. Like, he just doesn't get in the groove. He's always a consistent player, which is great for cash. But I think, me personally, I'm going to limit him just a tad in GPPs. For cash, Lowry is definitely not an issue. He's going to hover around that 40-point range for DK at least. So I do like Lowry. I just think his ceiling is just not there for me. Gonna go down even further for cash. Harden, Jokic, Murray, Burks, Chris, Ibaka, Bowman, Robinson. Glenn Robinson. Okay. I don't mind that. I would watch out for... Actually, it's not bad.
I don't think DeJounte Murray is going to be that high owned.
Yeah, he's not going to be high owned. That is correct.
Jokic should have some ownership. So should Glenn Robinson. You have Bowman in there. Yeah, I mean, I don't mind that build.
Yeah, it's not a bad build at all for cash. All right, FanDuel question. I'll go ahead and answer it just because we're being nice. It's New Year's. By the way, happy New Year's Eve, guys.
Yeah. FanDuel.
So the price for Doncic, if that's true, are you reading that?
Yeah, $700 less than Harden.
Oof. That's that definitely changes things up for FanDuel.
I'd probably still go Harden in cash, and Luka in GPPs.
Yeah,
I really would. I mean, I watched that whole game against the Lakers. Granted, I know Luka was hobbled, but he was really banged up. So I just don't know what kind of Luka is going to show up tonight. And at 11.6, that's a very hefty price tag. I mean, the guy almost had a triple-double against Golden State in the first quarter. So he's absolutely remarkable. But just watching him go up and down the court against the Lakers after he took that spill, he was not the same guy. I know he's had 2 days off, but I'm still personally probably going to go Harden just because, they just had a Torrey Craig.
Yep, I just saw that.
I think he's a safer play, especially for cash. But that price tag just makes all the difference in the world. That's crazy that he's $700 less than Harden. Yeah,
like I was saying, dude, I just don't like FanDuel's pricing whatsoever. That's why I play on DraftKings, because it's a lot more competitive. It's where the edge is. I feel like just FanDuel, if you hit optimize, there's like a 50% chance you're gonna get the optimal every single time on any of these websites.
Late swap, right?
Oh yeah, you can't late swap too. No, yeah. Right there. No, just no.
I would actually, you know what? I probably would be at like 90% caching because every time I pivot off my lineup, that would actually. But maybe I should get on FanDuel.
All right, so before we get asked this question, Torrey Craig, 21 minutes, 3K. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely a cash option now, 100%. I mean, 21 minutes at 3K, that's just...
Pace-up spot.
Yeah, it's a pace-up spot. They're playing at Houston.
I will say this. I'll give my 2 cents about this, because I don't...
use him for defensive purposes to try and cover Harden.
Yeah,
kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah, because Sano actually mentioned that Gary Harris does give Harden the boost just because he is good defensively. So I can agree with that. I think they're going to need somebody to step up on defense.
Thinking Torrey Craig, because Torrey Craig's a great defender. I think they're going to put him on Harden, even though nobody can really stop Harden. But 21 minutes could be a trap. I still like Golden State exposure, but like Torrey Craig and Monty, I'm gonna have to wait and see what Torrey Craig's what his ownership bumps up to a little bit to try and see if he's cash. He's definitely cash viable now, but I still would rather, at him at 3K or Kai Bowman at 3.1. I still want Kai Bowman. And that's plain and simple.
0.82 fantasy points per minute without Harris on the court is definitely not bad, but he does carry a 13.4% usage, which means that he is a shot taker on that. He's going to be a shot taker definitely in that first unit. So I think pace-wise, I'm going to have a little bit of exposure to him. I don't know if I'm too high on him just because I think that the Golden State guys, they have more minutes, they have more opportunities. They're also in a pace-up spot. I know the Warriors aren't as good of a team, but again, it's like the other night with Houston. There's just somebody that has to step up for them. I think if I had to lean some way, and I think it's going to come out to what the builds are going to look like.
They have a much tighter rotation too. So
Yeah, I think it's going to come out to what the builds are going to look like. If I need a salary saver, I think I'm going to go down to somebody like Craig. And actually, I'm going to update that in just a little bit, but I'm going to go ahead and answer some questions before we do that. Where was I? Oh, how do you feel about McCall? TJ, I want you to answer that because I don't even know your thoughts on McCall. He is projected tonight at 36 minutes at 4.2
Yeah,
in a pace-up spot.
Yeah, I kind of think Patrick McCaw is just one of those guys that just stands in the corner and tries to hit open threes. I wouldn't consider him cash viable. I don't see him garnering a lot of ownership at all.
6%.
He's had a couple good games against Celtics and against OKC, but 4.2K, it's not a price tag that I want to pay tonight, especially with all that Golden State value. GPP play, sure. He definitely could get maybe a little more run against Cleveland. But he's been playing. I mean, the minutes he's been playing lately have been absurd. He's played 37 against OKC, played 43 against the Celts. So Patrick McCaw, not cash viable, but if you want to take a shot in the dark GPPs, then I mean, by all means, if he's gonna see 36 minutes, I mean, it's tough not to hit that price tag with those kind of minutes. But
yeah, I agree with that. Any shooter in a pace-up spot like that is definitely a viable option for GPP because he definitely has a high ceiling now. So 4.2 sure. Does not scare me away though. I like if he was in the 5K range, I would be like, nah, I'm gonna stay away from him.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Next question.
All the I'd rather go up and get Glenn Robinson at 4-4. Or
I agree with that.
That's what I personally would rather do, especially for cash.
We also haven't talked about these two players, and these two players are going to show up in a lot of builds. Capella or Ibaka is the question, and go ahead and talk to that.
I mean, that's virtually a toss-up. I personally like Capella because I think it's going to be a more competitive game. Ibaka's been great so far since he's been thrust into that starting role for Toronto. But for cash tonight, I'm strictly looking at Golden State and then that Denver and that Houston game. I just would rather stay with that. Cleveland's an absolutely abysmal team. So Ibaka could play 25 minutes tonight. And I know I hate to think, and Matt always gets mad at me for this type of thought process, thinking about blowouts and things like that. I'm not necessarily sitting here thinking that Toronto's going to go in and just blow the doors off of Cleveland, but Cleveland's a very, very bad basketball team. So, I mean, the minutes will probably be there for Ibaka, but I think the safer play, especially for cash, is Capella.
So it's really funny that you're saying this because the last time they played Cleveland, he got 22 minutes. I know everybody was back for them. No, he got 20 minutes. So what was the score of that game? I don't know what the score of that game was, but it looks like he was benched because they're probably blowing them out.
Yeah.
20 minutes.
I mean, and like I said, the spread's only 10, so it's not going to be competitive.
Could go either way.
But Toronto's actually been very good this year and such a surprising team, especially with all the injuries now. Like Siakam's been out, Gasol's been out, Norman Powell's been out, and they're still just being competitive, winning games, like staying in. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, Van Vliet. I mean, talk about a hidden gem. Van Vliet is he's been. I mean, like Lowry's getting really old. I feel like once he finally leaves Toronto, Van Vliet's he's gonna get even better, and I'm excited to watch them.
Guys, where did Van Vliet go to college? Somebody hit it in the message board, quick.
I was about to answer, and then you said hit it in the message board.
No. Come on, he was there for 15 years.
Shaka Smart.
Yeah, I know. See, Patrick said in the comments, they said the same thing about Washington and Atlanta last night. I know it's some of those games they're projected to be a blowout, and it goes the complete opposite way. Like Washington was supposed to get their doors blown off last night by Butler and the Heat, and it was vice versa. So I personally just think in cash, Capella is a safer play. And Ibaka might have a little more ownership. Like last night, I also thought Vooch was a better play than Bam. It didn't look like that early.
That wasn't too far off.
No, Vooch finished with more points than Bam. I mean, price per dollar, he was a little bit below him. But, Pat, Wichita State. There it is, baby.
Pat's all right. Got it. So, real quick, does he win $100? Is that what we're giving him? Do you have $100?
High five.
Okay, high five.
He's got it. Happy New Year's.
All right, so next question. Love Harden. Oh no! I missed a question up here. It was about the Spurs, and I want to talk about the Spurs real quick. Let's just talk about them in general because we are totally ignoring the fact that they are the second highest over/under on the slate. It's Houston, Toronto, and San Antonio are all at 113. So let's talk about San Antonio real quick, and I want to take the lead on that because I'm a Spurs fan. I do watch a little bit more of their games, but the chances that I do get to watch them, it's a typical Popovich type year where he's playing guys unpredictably. DeJounte Murray, his minutes actually went down to 27, so I have to recalculate his fantasy points in our sheet here. The only players I'm really gonna look at without any injuries for the Spurs, regardless of any situation, just because you can never tell with Popovich, is DeRozan and Aldridge are always the guys that are going to get minutes no matter what. Okay, DeJounte Murray can play 20 minutes, he can play 30. You never know. Literally, they are just GPP plays. So if you're asking either Aldridge or DeRozan, those are the only guys that I ever really like from the Spurs, unless somebody else benefits from injury. Brent Forbes is always a good GPP option just because he does play consistent minutes within the 25 to 30 range. But, I mean, even Brent Forbes is just a shooter. So, like I said, if you're talking about GPPs, yes, Trey Lyles is a viable option at 21 minutes. They have no centers down there. We got asked that question in the chat. But Aldridge and DeRozan in pace-up spots, they aren't bad plays for cash, like if you want to throw those guys in there in cash, but I do like other players from other teams just strictly because of the injuries. Like, I would prefer somebody like Lowry. I prefer somebody like Ibaka if you were looking for a forward position, just because of the pace-up spot, just because they're benefiting from injury, just because they're more consistent with minutes. Like, you just never know with Popovich, and it's very frustrating because the Spurs are sucking this season. I wish he would do something different with that team. I have a feeling something will get shaken up soon, but it just seems like he just keeps going and going with the same kind of production, and he just keeps showing random guys random minutes. Like Lonnie Walker, when's he going to be in the starting lineup? We don't know. Like, he could end up being a good GPP play tonight. We don't know. So, to answer your question, I only like Aldridge or DeRozan. I don't know if you want to talk about that, TJ, at all.
Sorry, I thought I was about to barge down the door. I actually like, I kind of like Aldridge and DeRozan both tonight. I don't think that Golden State has anybody that can necessarily match up with Aldridge. I feel like it could be a big game where they just feed him down low in the post and just let him go to work. And that's kind of been the theme, I feel like, with them as of late, that they've been kind of doing that. I mean, I know they did it against Detroit. Memphis, he went absolutely ballistic. They fed him down low, 17 to 25. Like, that's absolutely absurd. So I actually think that Aldridge and I think DeRozan are going to carry some ownership tonight for cash. I'm still looking at Harden and Capella, but I've been trying to figure out a build in which I can fit Aldridge in the lineup as well for cash. I like Aldridge more than DeRozan because I think DeJounte Murray kind of takes away from DeRozan a little bit when he actually gets the minutes, which I hope they let him off the leash soon because he's very
27.
fun to watch. Yeah. I know he's still coming back from that bad injury he had, but yeah, I like Aldridge more than DeRozan tonight. And like I said, I'm trying to find a build in which I can have Aldridge, Harden, and Capella with those Golden State guys. And I think the Torrey Craig news starting kind of opened that up a little bit. But I'm just trying to figure out that mid-tier of who I want to go with, like Jamal Murray, Will Barton, what have you, Draymond, Damian Lee. So yeah, I think DeRozan and Aldridge are both definitely cash viable tonight, and they'll definitely carry some exposure, but I like Aldridge more than DeRozan.
Yeah, Aldridge also, somebody stated that he has a mismatch. The mismatch comes with Golden State really not having any bigs down there. Stein obviously being absent from the lineup tonight. That's another reason to look at these roto rankings here and consider them stale at some points, especially when there's injuries, because it shows them as having a first against the league against centers. That is because of the pace of the game, and that's just because the Warriors kind of suck. The Warriors are number one against centers. It's showing that for roto.
Well, I mean, you got Cauley Stein out and you got Looney out,
right?
So
that's what I'm saying. It's stale.
Greatly.
All right. What I want to do is, because we aren't getting near the edge, or we aren't getting near the end of the stream, but I want to go ahead and crunch out some lineups just to see what the builds are looking like. I want to talk about our actual builds, and I want to talk about the players that pop for me. And I want to start talking about a strategy, TJ, if that's okay.
Mm-hmm. You go ahead.
Let's go ahead and answer some more questions if there are any. Delon Wright, Hardaway. Do you want to touch on Dallas at all?
Yeah. So I don't think DeLon Wright is starting. No, they're going Luka. Right now, the projected lineup is Seth Curry starting, so that's kind of interesting. I doubt it holds, but we'll see. He's starting for Hardaway. I'm not sure. But yeah, we're still pending that Luka news. Tim Hardaway has been ruled out.
I think he's playing now. I think Luka. I think he's playing.
Is it like set in stone? I mean,
let me check.
Forward probable, but it's not.
Oh, okay. I think it's the news I read.
So I mean, things could change, but I expect Luka to play. The only thing that scares me with someone like DeLon Wright are some of those cheaper guys for Dallas, even with Hardaway out, are the minutes. Luka's going to get his minutes, Porzingis, Dorian Finney-Smith, but then I kind of feel like they're pretty sporadic with DeLon Wright, Maxi Kleber, Seth Curry, and things like that. So if Seth Curry's starting and projected at 22 to 24 minutes, I like him as a cash play, potentially. I'd rather have the Golden State exposure, but it definitely opens up like a Seth Curry pivot for a GPP play if you'd rather go Seth Curry over someone like Kai Bowman. I know it's a $800 difference, so it's kind of tough to gauge it like that, but that's definitely a viable option. But I definitely want to see what Dallas's full lineup is once they announce that Luka's playing. But yeah, DeLon Wright, GPP play, sure, if you want to take a shot in the dark, but he's just not going to see the minutes, even with Hardaway out. He'll still get 20, 22 minutes. So,
Gallinari, hold on. Yeah, available to play. Schroeder, available to play. Diallo, available to play.
Diallo hasn't played in a while. So
yeah.
Well,
that kind of scares me away from these guys.
Yeah, not that I was really high on OKC. But yeah, Diallo's been out since November 22nd. So, I'm sure he'll be on a minute restriction, probably get like 15 minutes, but
18 minutes is what they're having them at.
Yeah, I'm sure something will come out that they'll ease him back 15 minutes. But that affects Schroeder a little bit. That affects SGA, and that affects CP. So nothing crazy, but if anything, I think that affects Terrence Ferguson and his minutes a little bit. But it's just gonna put down the production for all those other guards that OKC has with Diallo back. But yeah, DeLon Wright, GPP play if you want to take a shot in the dark, but he's not cash viable.
Gallinari, Schroeder, and Diallo won't have a minutes restriction. I will say this about OKC. I agree with you, Sano. I don't think I'm gonna play anybody from OKC, at least with anything major. GPPs, yeah, and somebody I've always liked, and I've always taken him when he was on the Clippers too. Is Gallinari is like, he's definitely one of those guys with a high ceiling. If he gets hot, man, he just keeps going. So I do like Gallinari, but I don't even want to talk about them because I don't want to seem like I'm going that direction, because OKC really they're a price. They're a pace down spot. Dallas is a better option if you're gonna look at that game in general. But wow, I'm just getting bombarded with all these.
If you didn't know, tomorrow will be Minnesota Timberwolves chalk night. So if you want to take off the first day,
scares me.
You probably should, because tomorrow will already be a nightmare.
All right, so and we'll answer your questions in just a second. Something I've been wanting to do for you guys is look at what my exposures are, look at what my lineups are looking like. So to sit back and look and let this digest, TJ, it looks like what we had recommended before with the three Warriors is showing up in 100%, 76, and 61% of my lineups. So a majority of my lineups are having those three Warriors, as we've said before. It looks like Marquise Chris is the highest projected on the slate. I don't disagree with that. Marquise Chris is not a good basketball player, but he is productive when he's on the court just because he puts up so many shots. I think Marquise Chris is a great play. Burks is obviously a great play. I think Kai Bowman's the only guy that's even remotely close to not a good play, but if he's getting 26 minutes, he should hit value. It looks like the builds are going more towards that mid-tier range. I'm not seeing anything with Doncic here at the top. Doncic is in 5% of my lineups. So to answer my question from originally, can you even put James Harden and Doncic in the same lineup? There's not enough value on the slate for that. There's not enough value on the slate for that to even make sense. So if you're gonna do that, what's up?
I think, I mean, I'm from like a GPP perspective. I think you can have Harden and
I was just about to say that.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
No worries.
Bless you. Go ahead. Keep going. Sorry.
But yeah, that was pretty much all I was gonna say. So it looks like I think this is gonna be the difference right here. Ibaka and Capella, we got that question earlier. They are projected on, at least ownership wise, they're projected around 25%, almost exactly the same. Ibaka slightly more. I think that's gonna be the difference maker. Like one of these guys is gonna outperform the other, and it's gonna make or break some of your lineups. So that kind of, I mean, there's one lineup here at the top, which actually I kind of like: Bowman, Murray, DeRozan, Chris, Capella, Burks, Ibaka, Lowry. It actually has both Capella and Ibaka in there. If you're playing cash and it comes down to that option, like should I play Capella or Ibaka, just throw them both in there to grab both that exposure. So at least that's my opinion.
Yeah, the only thing I would say that's wrong with that lineup is no Harden.
Yep.
And I think Harden's. I think he's a must tonight. I mean, he's so undervalued at 10.5. I think that price tag is ridiculous. So that's the only thing that kind of pops out. Sano asked, I have Harden, Lee, Chris, Aldridge, Burks, which big pieces I'm missing. Kai Bowman. I mean, I don't necessarily think he's a big piece, but if you want another mid-tier guy, you're going to want... Ooh, Hollis Jefferson's starting.
For the Raptors.
Hollis Jefferson, Ibaka.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
Let's update those minutes once they update on Roto. And then that'll give us a better idea. Is Jamal Murray a good play on DK? I like Jamal Murray tonight. He gets the biggest boost without Gary Harris at 5% usage. He gets a 0.11% increase in fantasy points per minute. So I do like Jamal Murray pace up spot. We know that he's very volatile, and the shots definitely, they can go either way for him. So, but I do like him. If there's a night where he steps it up, I think it's tonight.
Yeah, and someone also mentioned Terrence Davis. I like him as a GP play tonight. If they do, in fact, blow out Cleveland, he'll definitely get more run. He's played 20-plus minutes the last 3 games, logging the most minutes that he's played all year against OKC. He logged 27. Not cash viable, but GPP play for sure, yeah. And like I said, if they somehow blow Cleveland out, he'll get a lot more run.
Fire away any questions you guys have about the slate. We are winding down on the stream, or we'll give you about 10 more minutes or so to answer any more questions, and then we'll go ahead and get off and start making our lineups. Torrey Craig, it looks like just because he's so cheap, he's actually not showing up in a lot of my lineups. Do you like that, or do you not like that? Do you think I should have more exposure to him? 19%. Yeah.
I don't think you need... I think Kai Bowman's obviously the better play at that price tag. I don't think you necessarily need Torrey Craig. I think it's pretty unsure as to how many minutes he's actually going to get, even though he's getting the start against Houston. He could play 15 minutes. He could play 26. I think it's a wide range, and I feel like they have a lot of bodies that they're going to probably try and throw at Harden. And I think they're going to start off with Torrey Craig and see how he does. I mean, he could play 28 minutes if he affects Harden and the way Harden's playing the game. But I don't think that you necessarily need Torrey Craig. I would be more interested in Hollis Jefferson now that he's starting for Toronto. Obviously, that price difference varies greatly, but Hollis Jefferson's kind of intriguing to me now. So I'm currently going through.
Yeah, I want to hold up on him just because whenever he doesn't get minutes, he doesn't perform. Whenever he does get minutes, he does perform. I think this is highly dependent on his minutes that he's going to get tonight.
Yeah, and he's in a really good spot.
He is in a great spot.
So, and that opens up, if you're playing a GPP and let's say you want to get away from Marquise Chris, if Hollis Jefferson's going to play 24, 26 minutes, I wouldn't advise it for cash, but it's definitely a great pivot in GPPs. Yeah,
Toronto's confusing, man. I don't really know who's going to get the minutes tonight. We know that Lowry, we know that Ibaka is going to get minutes. I think, and we know that Anobi's minutes went down to 26. So that's interesting. That's very interesting. McCaw's still projected at 36. Like, is that? Can we trust that?
But yeah, McCaw's been getting a lot of run, and I think that's been taken away from OG. But and they're also using other guys like Terrence Davis a little more. They're using Chris Boucher a little more. Guys that should be playing more are starting to earn more minutes in that rotation. But I want to wait and see what they do with the Hollis Jefferson minutes and see if he gets a bump. Because if he gets to 24-ish, 25, 26, I think he becomes cash viable.
Thoughts on Barton? Barton isn't on anybody's radar. Strictly a GPP play, and not a bad one. But he doesn't get any really that he doesn't get that big of a boost with Harris off the court. He's just kind of there. 6.4, definitely not a bad play just because of his price tag and is a pace up spot. But of course, just a GPP play. I wouldn't prioritize him over anybody really that we've been talking about. But definitely could be sneaky.
They had OG's minutes at prior to, he always at 23. Yeah, they barely bumped up Hollis. It says 18 minutes. I don't.
No. What'd you say?
I don't buy that.
You don't buy that? You think he's gonna play more?
Yeah, a little bit.
Do you think they're playing him just because it is Cleveland? I feel like that might factor into things.
Probably not. I mean, throw out your best lineup every night, no matter who you're playing. And a perfect example of that is that Washington-Miami game last night. If he plays 18 minutes, then he's not going to be cash viable. You can throw a shot in the dark in GPP, but I would expect him to play a little bit more than 18 minutes, especially if they blow out Cleveland. I'm trying to figure out what he played last time when he started, but I can't find it. Because I know there were some times this year, maybe like the beginning of the month, in which he drew a couple starts.
Rondé, Hollis, Jefferson, and Ibaka in the same lineup is okay. Yeah, that's fine. But the only thing is that if you have too much exposure to those two in particular are fine just because their price tags are so low. But like, let's say you have Van Vliet and you have Lowry in the same lineup, we wouldn't recommend that just because one of those guys is going to snap, the other one's going to either hit value or just go cold. Generally, that's what happens. Those guys won't eat into each other's production, though, and especially with the price tag. They like Rondé Hollis Jefferson could have a great game, Ibaka could have an average game, and they'd still both hit value.
Yeah, he's a point per minute player. Rondé Hollis is. So if the minutes are there, he's a good play. But if he's only going to get 18, then he's not cash viable.
Gallinari or Barton? Just because of the pace up.
Barton, yeah, definitely Barton.
Glenn Robinson or Rondé Hollis Jefferson? I want you to answer that.
Glenn Robinson.
Okay, I agree.
The minutes are there and they're more secure. So if news comes out that Hollis is going to play more minutes, then I think that's a lot closer of a call. But Glenn Robinson's going to play 30 plus minutes no matter what. So I think you take your chance with the minutes. I think that's always a safer play.
Yep, I agree. Whenever there's
30, 29, what have you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would always go with minutes, just more opportunity, more time on the court, more chances to produce. If somebody's projected 20 minutes and only plays 20 minutes, then it's way too tough to put up a lot of points. So I always like going with the minutes.
Trey Lyles is a question. Trey Lyles is a decent GPP play, but his minutes obviously always scare me. 21 minutes. He's a good point per dollar player. Good fantasy point production player. And since he's going to be running against Golden State, that's obviously a great matchup for him. So I don't mind him. I don't think he's necessarily a must, but talk about virtually no ownership. Yeah, good GPP play.
Yeah, for sure. So I just want to touch base real quick because I know we're winding down here a little bit. We got 20 minutes before lock. So for cash tonight, I think you go with the Golden State exposure. I personally will have Kai Bowman. I'll have Marquise Chris. I'll have Alex Burks no matter what. I'm still kind of up in the air on Draymond and Damian Lee, even though I like them both. And then I think you go to that Denver game. I think you get Harden, and then I think you need to decide between Ibaka and Capella. You can definitely have a lineup with both of them. But that's the build that I'm going to have tonight. And there's a ton of other good plays, whether that's going up a little bit more over Ibaka and getting somebody like Aldridge, if you want Jamal Murray, if you want Kyle Lowry. So there's a lot of good options tonight, and some of that value in Golden State opens up a lot of that. So it's kind of whatever way you want to go after you input Chris Bowman and Burks. And for me, it's going to be Harden, and then it's going to be Ibaka or Capella, potentially Aldridge, and Draymond Green, Damian Lee. So I really love the Warriors tight rotation, and I like all their starters tonight. So
I'm glad you just said everything you just said, because I pretty much can agree with you on everything that you just said. I don't recommend going outside of that 3-man lock outside of the Warriors for low value whatsoever. The minutes are going to be there. It's just like Houston the other night, and then possibly even having another filler with the Warriors I wouldn't be opposed to. You actually read the exact players that were showing up in my exposures as you were going through all that. So I'm glad we're on the same page. I'm going to answer some questions here. Lyles or Craig in cash? Craig will probably be slightly higher owned. So Craig.
Yeah.
GPP, the exact opposite, I feel like.
You need either of them in cash. So
you don't. No, you definitely don't.
Get Harden and Luka, which I wouldn't advise for cash tonight. I think you need to go the Golden State value, Harden, and then the middle of the road guys, Ibaka, Lowry, DeRozan, Aldridge, etc. So yeah, I don't think Lyles and Craig, I don't think they should be in your cash builds tonight.
You said, hold on, you guys are firing me with questions. Let me catch up here. You like Westbrook? Gosh. Hold on, I want to go back even further though. Westbrook and Michael Porter together, or Jamal Murray and Draymond, or Ibaka? I like Jamal Murray and I like Ibaka probably. It depends on what you're playing though. Jamal Murray is going to be a sneakier pick just because he does get that price. He got that price bump a little bit, but he does also get that usage bump. And then pairing him with either one of those guys, I'm fine with. I like Ibaka though, just because of ownership. You said Rondae Hollis Jefferson or Millsap. Those guys aren't even close in price tag. So if you're talking about like straight point per dollar value,
yeah, they are. I think the Millsap's 47.
Oh no, you're right. I was thinking Barton. That's my fault.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Who do you like better, Millsap or Rondae Hollis Jefferson?
Neither. But I'd say Millsap.
Millsap, okay.
Yeah.
I can agree with that. Like I said, you don't really know what's going to happen with Toronto with their minutes because it's just I feel like it's always different. Toronto's also putting Rondae Hollis Jefferson in the starting lineup. I don't know if that's going to hurt or help Rondae Hollis Jefferson. I don't know what their minutes are going to look like, man. I just wish I knew. I wish I had insider information, but I just don't.
I think Hollis is going to get 20 minutes, so that's probably what I'd put him at. So I think Millsap's minutes are going to be a little more secure. Probably should see 25, 26. And so I would go Millsap. I'd go with the minutes. Go with what you know.
Yes, that's a great. I like that. That's great advice because if like I always do this with minutes. If you're gonna take the higher point per dollar guy or minutes, you always go with minutes. Always, because there's gonna be more opportunity. It's just like football. If they're on the field more, go with them. Don't go for somebody cheap that's not on the field for only 50% of the plays. It's just like basketball. If they're gonna be on the court more, then there's a higher probability they're gonna score more. Bowman.
Matt, I want to touch base on something real quick. I see a lot of people asking Aldridge, Capella, or Ibaka. It's exactly like last night. Last night was Whiteside, Bam, Vooch, and there was one other big. I can't remember. But so it was Whiteside, Bam, and Vooch. You can't go wrong with any of them. They're all great plays tonight. Aldridge is a good play. Capella is a good play. Ibaka is a good play. I think it just matters on who you're starting with your value plays from Golden State. If you're going up to get Jamal Murray, if you're going to go up any further to get Kyle Lowry, I think that's gonna make the difference on who you're going to get because they're so close together. Capella 74, Aldridge 76, and Ibaka 73. So I think they're all really good plays. If I had to list them on who I think best play, I'd go Capella, Aldridge, and Ibaka. That'd be me personally. Matt, I don't know if you agree, but it's a complete toss-up between all three of them. It really is. They're all you can't go wrong.
Completely agree with you. It's a complete toss-up. The only reason I'd give Ibaka any credit is just because he's benefiting from not having, or he's having a lot of injuries to deal with from his teammates. So that's the only thing he benefits from. If you look at players that benefit from injuries over people that have the full rotation of their starters, like Capella, I'm gonna take the guys benefiting from injuries. But again, like, Capella's a great player. He's a better player than Ibaka. So again, it's a complete toss-up, and you know my bias with Aldridge. Aldridge is obviously gonna have opportunities there against the Warriors. So I completely agree with you. Also, I want to say, TJ, just for like, this is like the first time that we've been going back and forth on stream. Whenever I'm talking and then you talk, they can't hear you. So I don't know why, but like, it blanks out everything. So just FYI, like right there, nobody could hear what you just said.
Got it.
Yeah, we have to just take turns. That's all.
Okay.
Bowman, Alexander, Craig, Chris, Love. We haven't talked about Love. Harden, Aldridge, Paul, GPP. My advice to you is, if you're throwing that into a very high entry GPP, like a ton of entries, that's the only way I could see that as a viable option. I want to see more chalk in that. You want to take a lot of chalk and then low owned guys for GPPs. Just a couple guys though. Like Paul's gonna be virtually unowned, Love is gonna be unowned, and Alexander's gonna be unowned. Yeah, I know Lyles is starting. Lyles actually isn't a bad option. Lyles is not a bad option, but only GPP.
Matt,
yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to dip out so that I can go post our lineup.
All right. Thanks for your insight, TJ.
All right, guys, take care. Everybody have a safe New Year's. Matt, I'll talk to you in a little bit.
Awesome.
All right, bye, guys.
See you later. I just want to touch base on a couple more questions here. Lee, would you fade Lee for Rondae Hollis-Jefferson? No, I wouldn't. I think any Warrior is the safest option because their minutes are guaranteed. So if you're picking between Warriors or the Raptors, I would go towards the Warriors. Ibaka or Aldridge, again, toss up. I'm going to slightly lean towards Ibaka. Slightly. Very slight. Jeremy Grant's not getting that much minutes. I would stay away from Grant. Stay away from Grant unless you're playing GPP and he's like the one guy that you're playing low owned. Luka is playing. He's probable. He should be playing unless something crazy happens. Harden, Murray, Lee, Chris, Capella, Burks, Barton, Bowman. I like that. I do like that. So no, I actually like that. Because you're getting low owned guys with Bowman. Could do well for the Warriors. He has every right to do well with the Warriors. Barton, same thing. Those are your low owned guys, and those are good plays. You know what? If you guys see Sano's lineups in here, I'm not saying take them, but I'm saying maybe look at them because I know for a fact he's been killing it, right? Yeah, you could go Aldridge over Capella. Do you know what I would do, Sano? I would go Aldridge over Capella and very big GPPs. Just because the ownership's going to be lower. And Luka is confirmed playing. All right, guys. I'm going to go ahead and get off. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for showing all your support. If you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button because whenever we go live, you'll get that notification right away. You'll hear everything from the start to finish. You'll be the first update for all of our videos. So again, guys, appreciate all the support. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for showing us some love. Happy New Year's. Let's go ahead and cash in. It was a 4-game slate, but we showed our edge yet again on the slate. Let's go ahead, sit back, enjoy, and let's cash, guys. Let's make some more money tonight.